पहले 1 in 10 था. मुझे तो लगता है कि 1 in 10 is just the number which is actually official. Unofficial figures could be way higher.
Last week, okay, there is an article published in Mint which I wrote, and the number is 1 in 6 as on date.
Oh my God.
Yes, the number is 1 in 6 as on date.
Oh my
And
God.
just to talk about women, sorry, when we used to study 15 years, 20 years back, we used to say the breast cancer is very common in females. Every 28th women is getting breast cancer. By the time we completed our graduation, SRSHA, junior consultancy, the number dropped down to 22. As on date, it is 17, and we are still counting the the current trend. So we might be looking at somewhere 12 or 13. And it is, I would say, it is not got to do only with the illiteracy. मतलब last before Diwali की बात है September के आसपास की. I got a female in my OPD. She was what 27, 28 years. She was pursuing her MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. I mean, now you can understand the level of intellect that she was carrying with her. And she was stage 4 CA breast.
Oh my God. And it's also because youngsters, you don't expect to have any disease, so you don't go for checkups.
And especially coming from a intellectual female who is pursuing MBA in Ahmedabad, IIM Ahmedabad. I mean, I don't consider any other institute better than IIM Ahmedabad for MBA as on date.
Oh, true. Absolutely.
And hey, ma'am.
I know. So I think, Rajiv, should we get started?
Yes, ma'am. Now you can start. Santosh, you can start recording.
Can we?
Yes, ma'am.
Dear viewers, welcome to the Wealthy You webinar organized by Mahindra Insurance Brokers Limited. I think one of the most fastest growing disease today is cancer. All of us would know somebody or the other whom we have lost in our close circles because of cancer. And those of you who joined in a little earlier and were able to hear my conversation with Dr. Saab here, I mean the numbers today are astounding. At every 1 in 6 people suffering from cancer, which is really, really shocking. And therefore, the need for us to understand what is cancer, how do we prevent it, and what, of course, are the modalities for cure. It's a great honor for us today to have Dr. Sunny Jain with us. He has been practicing oncology for over 15 years and he has treated thousands of patients. Of course, Dr. Saab, I'm not going into kahan se aapne kya kya certifications kari hai because there are so many of them. But what is worth a mention here is that Dr. Sunny Jain has been awarded among many other prestigious awards. He has also been awarded by the American Society of Clinical Oncology as well as the European Society of Medical Oncology and the Ethicon for his great contributions in this field. He also leads as the editor for Journal of Young Medical Researchers, and therefore, the latest statistics that we get from him that today cancer is actually at 1:6 people, and how different types of cancers, how the numbers are really growing. So over to Dr. Sunny Jain. Please feel free to ask any questions from him. Please key in the questions in your, in the chat box. And like always, I will relay them to Dr. Sunny and you will get your answers. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Sunny. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'd like to thank Mahindra Insurance Brokers Limited on the whole for giving us this opportunity to share my thoughts over cancer. So before I start, we have good around 31 already participants. I would like to hear, or I would like to have a show of hands who all have who have seen cancer patients in their life, whether friends, family, relatives, immediate relatives, distant relatives. So let's have a show of hands who all have actually. So this is Mr. Ramakrishnan has seen, then I have another plus one. So I'm sure ma'am would be able to give us the numbers in some time, and this is increasing, right? So
Yeah.
we have plus four.
Plus
So
five.
out of 33 in just 5 seconds, we have five show of hands. I'm sure other would be either hesitant or they might have not heard the question. So cancer is increasing. Cancer is it's I'll not call it epidemic still, but yes, it is increasing to a level where we might call it epidemic very soon. And when I say very soon, it might take few years from now. But is cancer treatable? Before I start my talk, before we talk about cancer, what is cancer, prevention, what are the myths associated with cancer? So, is cancer treatable? So, yes, friends, I'm telling this loud and clear with caps lock on, bold on, whatever way you want to hear this out. Cancer is treatable. Cancer is only a disease, friends. It is not a death sentence. किसी को कैंसर हो जाए इसका मतलब ये नहीं है that he or she has to die. And I always say this, शुगर कार्डियक न्यूरो की दवाइयां पेशेंट के साथ बंद होती हैं. कैंसर का ट्रीटमेंट 2 महीने 3 महीने 4 महीने 6 महीने साल भर में बंद हो जाता है. So there's something known as, but cancer is very aggressive. So we have to be very aggressive in our treatment. वो ना there is an old saying कि जो चीज जल्दी गर्म होती है वो जल्दी ठंडी होती है, जो चीज जल्दी ठीक होती है वो जल्दी वापस भी आती है. So cancer is that sort. But yes, obviously, lot depends on what stage are we at seeing the patient. So stages of cancer is very important. So when we talk about stages, right on. So when we talk about stages, so the practical cancer is divided into four stages for all practical reasons. There might be subcategory A1, B1, C1. So stage one usually said it is localized disease. Stage two is like it is locally advanced disease. Stage three is usually the locally advanced with adjacent structures uh, being coming into play. And last is stage four in which the disease metastasizes. So the point is, do we have a treatment for stage one, stage two, stage three, and stage four individually? So the answer is yes, we do have treatment for even stage one and stage four respectively. But obviously the cure rates, the response rates, the outcomes differ. Okay. So stage one we have to treat very mildly for a patient. Stage four we have to treat the patient heavily. So most of the questions which come to me, they never ask about sir cancer कैसे बचाएं, ये कैंसर हो गया. But मेरे पास जो whenever a patient walks into my OPD, they only talk about myths. जो कि I'm sorry but don't, this is not personal, कि सर रामलाल को हुआ था उसके साथ ये हुआ, रामलाल ने हाथ पकड़ लिया, और श्यामलाल को हुआ था तो एक्सपायर हो गया. Okay, but this is just an example, I'm taking the names. So but that doesn't mean, see, I always again say this कि रोड पे रोज आना लाखों गाड़ियां निकलती हैं, दो का एक्सीडेंट होता है, that doesn't mean कल आप गाड़ी में नहीं बैठोगे. That doesn't mean you'll stop sitting in the car. That doesn't mean you'll stop driving. है ना. तो जब आप एक एक्सीडेंट हो गया, ट्रेन डीरेल हो गई, ट्रेन पटरी से उतर गई, that doesn't mean you will not sit in train tomorrow. If you have to travel, you will travel in train. So when we are not petrified, when we are not afraid of taking the rides in car and trains respectively, then why are we afraid of taking the treatment? After all, the treatment, it is not poison, right? So I guess before we do anything about cancer, we should first list out what are the cancer myths, and these are very few that I could have put on the slide, because else the slide, I'm sure no one would have able to read the slides. I got सारे myths डाल देता. So hair loss after chemo is permanent. What are the superfoods that we need to consume? Taking tons of antioxidant will prevent cancer. It's better not to take treatment than take chemotherapy. If you have cancer, is it okay to eat sugar? Radiation from cell phone is causing cancer. Hair dyes and deodorant cause cancer. And cancer means death. Okay. And this is the most common. Ma'am, is my cursor available?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So only people who smoke will get cancer, will get lung cancer. Ma'am, friends, this is a biggest myth. This is the biggest myth. Yesterday, I shot a video on air pollution and cancer. I'll just brief that about. So let's take one by one. So let's इसी से बात करते हैं lung cancer के ऊपर ही. The only people who will smoke will get cancer. So I explain this by saying जिसको lung cancer होता है, if we have 100 lung cancer patient, उसमें से 95 smokers होंगे. But that doesn't mean कि मेरे पास खाली यही 100 patient. So the chances, the patients who are diagnosed with lung cancer are usually smokers, but non-smokers में भी lung cancer मिलता है. So there is first-hand smoke, there is a second-hand smoke. The first-hand smoke is कि जो patient खुद smoke कर रहा है. Second-hand smoke is the passive smoking, which is commonly known as कि जो साथ में खड़ा है वो भी smoke कर रहा है. There was a very interesting meme जब ये air pollution बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया था. So say some class of people smoke BDs, the better ones smoke cigarette, but legends live in Delhi and NCR. I mean, I don't know whether anyone got this context or not. The context is जब आप दिल्ली NCR में रह रहे हो तो आप already cigarette पीते हो. There's so much pollutants, so much particulate matter in the atmosphere, in the environment कि आपको cigarette पीने की जरूरत नहीं है. And in any case, you are smoking because you are living in, because you are a legend. Let's call it, because we all are legends living here. So recently there was a study in ESMO 2022 this year, European Society of Medical Oncology, which says a particulate matter of 2.5 ppm causes enough when it is absorbed by the lungs, when it is absorbed by the trachea, when it is absorbed by the respiratory system, causes activation of EGFR. EGFR is epidermal growth factor receptor, which is a known gene, which is a known pathway for causing lung cancer. So friends, lung cancer air pollution से भी हो रहा है. Smoking is the major causative agent, but that is not the only causative agent. What are the superfoods? I never got this concept. What is superfood? I mean, food is food. I mean, whether you have non-vegetarian or you're vegetarian. Superfood, when I mean is, आप ये जो नीम हकीम वैद्य के पास जाते हैं कि काली मिर्च खा लो, तुलसी के पत्ते ले लो, काढ़ा पी लो. कोरोना में बहुत सबने काढ़े पी पी के ना, मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल जिसने जो सुबह शाम दिन रात से काढ़े पीते थे, they came back to us with proctitis, loose motion, damage to the colon. So I don't this concept of superfood. So there is nothing superfood. Just to get this straight, for any cancer patient, the disease is always in a catabolic state. Catabolic मतलब वो constantly उसकी energy requirements बहुत high होती है क्योंकि cells टूट रहे हैं. So to replenish the normal cells, body needs energy, body needs high protein rich diet. So that protein is the bodybuilding material of the body. So if bodybuilders protein खाते हैं, right? कोई whey खा रहा है, कोई soy खा रहा है, कोई less extract खा रहा है. Whosoever is bodybuilder in the house, he or she will acknowledge this. If for building a body, you need extra proteins. So whenever the patient is suffering from cancer, the body is in constant catabolic state. मतलब constantly वो टूट रहा है उसके cells, तो उसको बनाने के लिए protein diet चाहिए, high rich protein. Again, antioxidants will prevent cancer. So when I was doing my fellowship from AIMS, our professor used to say this to us: "Dear, the only way not to have cancer is not to be born." I am sure did I get it through? The only way not to have cancer is not to be born. So I mean, there is no way to prevent cancer. But yes, obviously, environmental hazards बचा सकते हो आप अपना. I come on to that. There are certain risk factors which can be modified. So cancer normally has a modifiable risk factors and a non-modifiable risk factor. Modifiable मतलब कि you have to do exercise regularly, eat nutritious food, wear mask. I don't know. Somehow, just as the Corona era has faded out, people had stopped using masks. But the mask was one thing which was not only protecting you from Corona. It is protecting you from air pollution. It is protecting you from contagious disease. It is protecting you from the viral infection, which is contagious, which can be transmitted through fomites or किसने छींक दिया जुकाम हो गया उससे भी बचा रहा है. It is also filtering out the particulate matter जिसकी मैं बात कर रहा था लंग कैंसर में कि वो आगे ना जाए. So wearing mask is something that can be done. It is better not to take chemotherapy, not to take treatment at all. So what is chemotherapy? तो इस कीमोथेरेपी से एक बताता हूँ. वन पेशेंट यूनी से, सर क्या ये सांप का जहर है? इज इट स्नेक पॉइजन? क्या इसको लेने से शरीर नीला पड़ जाता है? क्या इसको लेने से दर्द होता है, क्या इसको लेने से कोई रेज निकलती है. So whenever the cancer patient is on treatment, let me tell you, whether chemotherapy, see, for any cancer cure, we just have got three modalities, whether it is chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or surgery. We have ways and means of detailing about chemotherapy. ये immunotherapy है, ये targeted therapy है, ये hormonal therapy है, ये cell cycle inhibitor है. But the broad classification remains only three. So what is the cancer treatment? If someone asks after this today's session is, with only three: either it's chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or it is a surgery. So chemotherapy is the one pillar of cancer treatment. So how can we, when a building is standing tall and high on three pillars, how can we just do it on two pillars? Okay. So again, chemotherapy, coming back, chemotherapy ना सांप का जहर है, ना ये बिच्छू का जहर है, ना इससे दर्द होना है, ना रेज निकलनी है, ना चुभन होनी है, ना घर में वॉशरूम अलग करना है, ना खाना अलग करना है. घर में अगर कोई छोटा बच्चा है तो उसको भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है उससे, पेशेंट से. So this is very common. This is one liner which I said in one go without taking a breath कि ये नहीं करना. Because it's बहुत बड़ी बात होती है किसी के लिए भी, जैसे हम बोलते हैं कीमोथेरेपी लेंगे. So again, जब बुखार होता है we take antipyretic, anti fever let's call it. तो जब वायरल था तो एंटी वायरल लिया सबने, फंगस होता है एंटी फंगल लेते हैं, इन्फेक्शन होता है एंटीबायोटिक लेते हैं. तो कैंसर होगा तो एंटी कैंसर दवाई लेनी पड़ेगी. ऑब्वियसली जो दवाई है, जो बीमारी है, उसका एंटी लेना है. तो जब एंटी लेना है उसका सेकंड नेम इज कीमोथेरेपी. So I don't foresee any major thing. But obviously, yes, again, in the initially, when I started my session, I said, as the disease is aggressive, disease बहुत तेजी से भागती है. उसको देखते हुए डेफिनेटली यस हमें ट्रीटमेंट भी उतना ही फास्ट करना है. और ट्रीटमेंट फास्ट के जब हम करते हैं तो ऑब्वियसली देयर विल बी सम साइड इफेक्ट. पर साइड इफेक्ट तो समोसे का भी है ना, जो आप बाहर से खाते हो. Who says that हल्दीराम के समोसा खाने से साइड इफेक्ट नहीं होगा और रेडी वाले खाने से ही होगा? ऑब्वियसली यस, रेडी वाले से खाओगे तो साइड इफेक्ट ज्यादा होंगे, लूज मोशन भी हो सकते हैं. बट कोलेस्ट्रॉल तो दोनों बढ़ाएंगे. बोथ आर फ्राइड एट द एंड ऑफ द डे. So when we don't think before we eat, let it be occasionally, right? Then why are we even thinking about the treatment? So disease है ना. This is, I always tell this is like a termite, है ना. किसी घर में दीमक लग गई है चौखट में, तो हम कहते हैं भाई जब स्ट्रेंथ आ जाएगी दरवाजे में, उसके बाद हम टर्माइट ट्रीटमेंट कराएंगे, तो कभी भी नहीं ठीक होगा. So you'll have to take the termite treatment today so that आगे ना गले. So this disease is like a termite which is constantly eating away the body, which is constantly destroying the cells in the body. So we have to take the treatment today. Again, radiation from cell phones. So there is a minimal amount of background radiation to which we all are exposed to. Cell phone causing brain tumors or cell phone radiation causing skin cancer is yet to be proved. We don't have any data or any scientific study to prove this कि इतनी radiation, इतने hertz के radiation के बाद there is a high chance that patient is suffering from cancer. और like I said कि lung cancer है तो 95% smokers थे. तो भैया इतने जो टावर में काम कर रहे थे या इतना hours of cell phone use करने के बाद ये disease होती है, we are yet to receive that scientific data. We as on date we don't have anything. Chemicals from hair dyes, deodorant cause cancer. So, anyone knows about the story about Dove shampoo? Ma'am?
No one.
Does anyone?
Okay, one person. I think it would be nice for you to tell us all about it. Even I haven't heard about it.
Asha. So the story is that Dove shampoo has been recalled or banned from US market. If you just go on net and read about it, because
Yes,
there is a chemical called benzene which was found in that. Benzene percolates through skin to cause cancer. Okay, so we have a particular agent which is causing cancer, which was found in this brand shampoo, and all the shampoo bottles of particular batch have been recalled by the company and has been withdrawn from the market. So yes, there is a chance, definitely. So when whichever formaldehyde is found in lot of beauty products, aerosols spray करते हैं, that can cause cancer. But as on date, we don't have any study to support this myth. Whether from tomorrow shall we put hair dyes or not? Yes, definitely you can. Obviously, you will plastics. Plastic cause cancer. The thing is, plastic have got phthalates. Phthalates is a component of plastic, which is when warmed. कि आपके माइक्रोवेव में आपने खाना गर्म कर लिया, तो वो थैलेट्स लीच कर जाते हैं. which causes changes in the genetic structure of the cell, which causes cancer. So we should avoid. So this is altogether. Does plastic cause cancer? Is altogether a different talk. It is a short presentation for half an hour. We'll plan it sometime later. But yes, definitely plastic has got a definitive role in causing cancers, and there are grades of plastic. Okay, 1 to 7, which is normally written on each and every plastic thing that we use. तो उसमें से कुछ are still safer. It is safer. It is not safe than others. So moving ahead, does cancer mean death? I've already told you it is not a death sentence. Cancer is not a death sentence. It is just a disease.
So
It is a disease we need to be treated. Sure.
Dr. Saab, one question from me actually. So there's almost, hardly anything that one hasn't heard of that does not have cancer causing particles. So one has heard about Dove and Johnson and so many others. I've even heard that मूंगफली ज़्यादा खाओगे तो कैंसर हो जाएगा. And then there are myths like नींबू का छिलका खाओगे तो कैंसर नहीं होगा.
Okay, नींबू का छिलका is being linked to antioxidant. Okay, if you will read this, it says taking a ton of antioxidant will prevent cancer. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. There is no scientific data yet to prove this. है ना? So again, जैसा मैंने कहा मूंगफली खाने से कैंसर होता नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. मूंगफली खाने से obviously cholesterol बढ़ेगा, obesity बढ़ेगी, which ultimately leads to cancer, which can cause colon cancer. So obesity is a direct correlation and a risk factor for colon cancer, for breast cancer. So मैंने कहा था समोसा खाओगे कोलेस्ट्रॉल बढ़ेगा, ऐसे I gave this example, right? So cholesterol बढ़ने से is a risk factor which leads to obesity, which might lead to cancer. So through link, yes, but there is no direct evidence.
Right. Can we take questions side by side?
Oh, sure. I love to.
We have a question on this while we're at the topic. Muhammad Qasim is asking, my mother, 73 now, is suffering from esophageal cancer, G2, from last 6 to 7 months. Radiotherapy and chemotherapy has been done, but now she has developed side effect in the eyes, and we have done cataract operation in her left eye because of very low eyesight. Now, what kind of medicines and diet should I have to give to her to make her energetic and healthy, as she is feeling tired all the time?
So, Mohammed, good to hear that you have undertaken the treatment, but obviously, yes, no disease is a good disease. Coming on to the cataract, she is 73. So, I guess cataract is just a coincidence. We cannot be relating it to the disease. That is a senile changes. There's always a story. जब स्कूटर और गाड़ी का एक्सीडेंट होता है तो गाड़ी वाले की गलती होती है. तो गाड़ी और ट्रक का एक्सीडेंट होता है तो ट्रक वाली गलती होती है. So whichever is bigger whichever is a bigger culprit in size in terms of volume, उसकी गलती है. So again, cataract should not be linked to the treatment, or cataract should not be linked to the disease per se. Probably senile changes. As far as diet goes, I initially mentioned when I was talking about superfoods. So she needs a high protein diet which is rich in protein, so that she builds her body back to normal. Obviously, this will not happen overnight. Again, cancer treatment does take a toll on physical health because it is बहुत aggressive disease है. We cannot be keeping any gun in our pocket to be fired later. It is all or none. We fire all guns today. There is no tomorrow if we don't fire everything today. So yes, just coming back to your question, answer is that you should give a high protein diet, give her normal home cooked food, avoid food from outside just to prevent infection, nothing else. Not that there is a lifestyle change that I'm looking at. And obviously, she's a female, so I don't need to say that I'm sure that she would not be having any addiction in terms of personal habit. So I wish you all the best. In case I can give any help, you can always contact us.
We will share sir's contact details, so you can reach out to him. Murli wants to know, radiations from cell phones, are they a cause of cancer or do they not cause cancer?
So Murli, I just mentioned this, that we all are generally exposed to some level of some level of background radiation, but there is no data, no study which suggests that use of cell phones can cause cancer or are toxic enough to cause changes in the cell genetic structure to cause cancer.
And Brijesh wants to know, is there a scanning test for monitoring different kinds of cancer like lung, blood, etc.?
So yes, dear, there are screening programs which are run and funded by Indian government. So normally screening programs are run for the cancers in which the uh, from see cancer will not develop overnight. Hota kya hai cancer? I'll just move on. I'll just show you the slide.
Rajesh will come back to your question, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm explaining in the next slide.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is cancer? So होता क्या है कि एक सेल मरता है तो एक पैदा होता है, दो मरते हैं, दो पैदा होता है. जब एक मरता है, दो पैदा हो, दो से चार, चार से 16, 16 से 256. You're getting the equation. So I normally दो सेल मरे, दो पैदा हुए. ठीक है. अब now let's say the cell cycle time is 24 hours. In 24 hours जितने सेल डेथ हुई उतने सेल दोबारा बन गए. Now what happened in the same time? In the same time पहले एक मरा था तो दो पैदा हुए. अब दो मरे तो चार, चार से 16. तो they are multiplying. They are multiplying in terms when they are squaring. So 2, 4, 16, 256 and henceforth. So and in the same time, so obviously there is this. What is cancer? Cancer is any uncontrolled, unregulated cell growth which is not required by the body. Why it is uncontrolled and unregulated? Because there is some genetic change in the cell structure. So there is something known as apoptosis. Apoptosis is the programmed cell death. कि भैया इस सेल ने जो 14 दिन जिंदा रहना है उसके बाद सनाइल डिके होगा 16वें दिन ये मर जाएगा 17वें दिन से नया सेल आना शुरू हो जाएगा दिस इज body's mechanism you cut your nails and again the nail grow so that growth dying and refurbishing and replenishing of cells is a normal mechanism of the body when there is a disturbance in this mechanism there is usually it causes cancer so what was this question exactly
So Brajesh wanted to know, is there a scanning test for monitoring different kinds of cancer, like lung?
Yeah, I got it. So the point is, ये cancer जो है ना, cancer cells जो है directly cancer cell नहीं बनते. So first there is an atypical cell. मतलब what is atypical cell? कि वो that is typical, it doesn't belong to that family. Like हमारे पास, let's say we have a square cells in particular part of the body. Instead of square, the cells is fine, but we are finding different shape. हमें circular cell मिल गया. So this is the change in the cell. This is atypical cell. So from atypical cell to full blown cancer, this is known as lag period. From atypical cell to a full blown cancer, this is known as lag period. So the diseases in which the lag period is longer, in those disease, there is definitely screening program which is being run by the government, like for cervical cancer. Cervical cancer, we have pap smear test. Pap smear test is a very routine test which a female goes to a gynecologist. She takes a breast cytology of the vagina and the around the cervix. She sees it. अगर उसमें atypical cell आता है, then we ask that female to follow up closely. There is a guideline to it. Similarly, it is for breast. So for breast cancer, I always tell this to everyone. The self breast examination is the most effective screening tool which each and every individual should do in house. One thing before I proceed, how many of us thinks that breast cancer is a disease only for females and not for males? I want show of hands who believe that breast cancer cannot happen to men. I'll just wait for 15 seconds and let's count the hand. Now, do we have any?
Two people, three. Only three hands.
Only three hands. So I'm sure rest are not raising
Four.
because they know the answer is no.
Yeah.
That is the reason I have asked this question.
Yeah, true, absolutely.
Yeah. So the point is breast cancer can happen in male and female both. Okay. It's just that females में ज़्यादा common है, males में less common है, but it can happen in both. So it's a request to every female out there, every male out there, more for females, that kindly do self breast examination. That is the most important screening tool which is going to help a female who might be suffering from breast cancer to diagnose early. Again, I said stage 1 के response and cure rate अलग है, stage 4 के अलग है. Okay,
Very
so
interesting fact that you've put forth, Dr. Saab. So while you say that males also can suffer from breast cancer, but the check, the self breast examination check is only for females. There's hardly any check ever spoken about men as well.
reason, ma'am, see, thing is, again, I'll put the fact. Currently, as on date, we say every 17th female is suffering from breast cancer.
The
It is
numbers are
very,
very.
very, very common. So we have screening tools for a common disease. Not every 17th male is not suffering from breast cancer. So males can have breast cancer for sure, but the numbers are not very high. Reason, the adipose tissue, the glandular tissue in males is very less as compared to females. So basically, breast cancer is a disease of the glands of the milk producing glands. Just to make it more easier for everyone to understand. वो ग्लैंड मेल्स में भी हैं बट नंबर बहुत कम है तो जिसका नंबर ज्यादा है उसकी बात यूजली होती
Fair enough. So Rajesh wants to know, while we are on this topic,
है.
is breast or brain tumor, are they always developed in other parts of the body? Uh, that's one question. And the second question is there any pre-vaccination for any type of cancer protection? My wife died of cancer. Sorry to hear this, Rajesh. My wife died of cancer. Is there any protection vaccination for my daughter as generic issue?
So I'll just answer Rajesh first. Rajesh, so sorry to hear that. But yes, definitely, there is a vaccine available for cervical cancer, these cancer of cervix in India. Earlier, it was marketed by GSK in the names of Cervigard and Gardasil. And of late, Sarva-RAC, if I'm getting the name right, is being simulated by Serum Institute, Bharat Serum Institute in India, which would be much cheaper as compared to Gardasil or Cervarix. Normally, what happens is, I'll just tell you shortly what is cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is usually associated with human papilloma virus infestation. So, human papilloma virus is usually transmitted from male to female whenever they have intercourse. So, normally it is said all the adolescent girls should get the cervical cancer vaccine. And I, in my opinion, say, moment the girl attains puberty, please get her vaccinated for cervical cancer. Because after having the intercourse, I don't believe there is any chance of that vaccine working. Because the moment the HPV virus is transmitted, the human papilloma virus, HPV is human papilloma virus, it can show up late today or tomorrow as cancer. So yes, as on date, it is only for the cervical cancer that we have a vaccine. Rest, we don't have any other vaccine. Because thing is, we don't understand. No two cancer patients are same. I mean, uh, I just see patient A suffering of breast cancer might be has a different genetic profile as compared to patient B who is suffering from the same disease, same stage, but both of them respond differently. So probably yes, we are in the look and hunt for all this, but currently it is only for the cervical cancer. The first one probably what he meant was that can breast cancer or brain tumor metastasize? I mean, can it spread from one place to other? That is what I could get out of the question. So yes, definitely the tumors do spread. The breast cancer do spread to brain. Okay. Normally, the brain tumors don't spread down because there is a blood-brain barrier, which is usually which is not breached when it is only per se of the brain tumor. But yes, do cancer do spread and this do spread very fast. That is the reason I said it is like a termite. ये दिमाग है नहीं करोगे तो फैल जाए. This was precisely what I meant by saying this statement. Moving on, coming on to the numbers, I'll just rush through this very fast. So almost 780, let's call it 780 crores of out of total population, almost maybe close to 1.9 CR patients are being diagnosed as new cases, and almost we have 99 lakh deaths every year. If we talk about India, India is catering to a population of around 1.38 billion, of which we have roughly 13 lakh new cases, almost 13 lakh new cases every year, out of which 8 lakh 50,000 are dying. So this is something which I need to I need all of you to pay attention to. So almost 60 to 65% of the patients are dying who are being diagnosed as cancer. The only reason is we are diagnosing cancer in India at very late stage. Causes can be N: ignorance, illiteracy, non-availability of the doctors, funding, XYZ. That is not material. The point is more than 60% of the patients are dying who are being diagnosed as suffering from cancer. And this is the reason I say early detection leads to better cure. Stage one has got better results as compared to stage four. Same breast cancer patient, stage one के अलग result है, stage four के अलग result है. Here comes the importance of doing self-examination and screening tools that we were talking about. So more than 60% of the patients who are diagnosed with cancer are dying in India, which is very dismal, which is very disheartening to see. We talk about the advances in science, we talk about advances in the treatment, but yet we are not able to give that much amount of cure because we are diagnosing them late. So moving on. So what are so with solid tumors? Solid tumors is when the tumor involves any part of the body. Blood or the liquid or the blood cancers are different. The solid tumors are different. जब कोई organ body का कोई body part involve हो जाता है उसको solid cancer कह देते हैं. इंडिया में head and neck cancer is most common, followed by lung, colon, breast and gynae cancer and prostate. I've tried to cover just the most common ones. There are other different. I have not covered the smaller variety. So coming on to the head and neck cancer, what are the risk factors? Alcohol is and tobacco consumption. So I always tell this tobacco in every form should be prohibited. Tobacco in any and every form should be prohibited. It is not only smoking. It is other forms like henny, gutka, smoking, cigar, BD. BD is not herbal, friends. And this is again a myth. कि सर बीड़ी तो हर्बल है इससे क्या होगा? Okay, there is nothing known as herbal tobacco. There is nothing herbal tobacco. Okay, पान पान पर से इज नॉट कॉजिंग दिस बट उसमें जो कत्था और वो जो सुपारी वी यूज राइट सुपारी क्या होता है सुपारी इज बीटल नट से क्या होता है वो नॉर्मली इट इज पॉइंटेड दी एजेस आर पॉइंटेड एंड पर्सन हु हैव लॉट ऑफ पान थ्रू आउट द डे जिनके मुंह से पान निकलता ही नहीं है टॉकिंग अबाउट दोस पीपल नाउ यूजुअली दे हैव सब म्यूकस फाइब्रोसिस मतलब वो कॉन्स्टेंटली पिन चुप चुप के मुंह का जो म्यूकोजा है जो रेडिश पार्ट आप देखते हो जीभ का या अंदर की तरफ से चीक्स का वो हार्ड हो जाता है वो व्हाइटिश हो जाता है माउथ ओपनिंग कम हो जाती है क्योंकि उसके अंदर फाइब्रोसिस हो जाता है एंड सबम्यूकोसल फाइब्रोसिस इज अ प्री मेलिग्नेंट कंडीशन फॉर एनी ओरल कैंसर सो पान का पत्ता पर से इज नॉट कॉजिंग कैंसर वो पान के अंदर जो एडिटिव्स हैं वो आर कॉजिंग कैंसर then again human papilloma virus I told you an Epstein-Barr virus is another infection which can cause head and neck cancer occupational exposure to wood and dust देखा गया है बिकॉज दे इनहेल अगेन द कंसेप्ट इज वुड जब वो काटते हैं जो उसके पार्टिकल्स इनहेल होते हैं particulate matter they tend to activate the EGFR and other pathways which are responsible for the cancer causing pathways. And genetic is obviously some percentage. So again, when I come next, I'll show you in one slide that we cannot be controlling the genetics. We cannot be changing the genetics, right? So genetics falls under the non-modifiable risk factor. उसको कुछ नहीं कर सकते modifiable को तो change करो. So what are the signs and symptoms of head and neck cancer? Can be mouth bleeding, difficulty in painful swallowing, throat pain, shortness of breath, trismus, lockjaw. Lockjaw means मतलब वही again mouth trismus is mouth opening में जब दिक्कत आती है. Hoarseness of voice, could be ulcers or could be ulceroproliferative growth मतलब कि थोड़ा सा गोभी का फूल टाइप की कुछ ग्रोथ मुंह में हो गई लिप्स पे हो गई तो there could be lymph nodes in the neck. Patient can have headache, nasal obstruction. मतलब जो part involved है उसका specific usually is the symptom. Lung cancer. What are the risk factor? So, tobacco smoking, second hand smoke मतलब passive smoking, pollution मैं बता दिया आपको भी aerosol से and जो particulate matter से environmental again radon gas and long standing disease COPD normally because they tend to use long steroids might be a predisposing factor because lung is not in very good shape. Genetics obviously we cannot help it. Occupation usually the miners जहाँ पे gases ज़्यादा निकलती हैं उनमें ज़्यादा पाया जाता है. Asbestos, silicates normally in the shipping industry asbestos के वो sheets use होती हैं उनमें ज़्यादा पाया जाता है. Aging is probably not directly I mean not every old male or female is having lung cancer but aging is related to the second-hand smoke, pollution, environment, all that combined is aging is a risk factor because you cannot stop aging, right? So, what are these signs and symptoms? It can be chronic coughing up of blood, wheezing sound, chest and bony pain, chest infections. Again, difficulty in swallowing. You can have hoarseness of voice in lung cancer also. Shortness of breath, I've told you. Unexplained weight loss. Nail clubbing is the changes in the architecture of the nail. Normally, it becomes club is uh, जो हम उसमें golf में use करते हैं उस clubbing, that is known as clubbing. जो club उसको, that is known as club. Colon cancer means आंतों का cancer. Again, obesity. जैसे I explained to you initially जब I was giving that samosa वाला example, cholesterol and obesity, and you asked for peanuts. So obesity is directly linked to colon cancer. Then you have personal history of inflammatory intestinal condition, like we have inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. That is a predisposing factor for colon cancer. Again, alcohol and tobacco use, low fiber diet, family history. So again, non-modifiable factor. Ma'am, if we have any question, just do stop me because we are running short in time. So that is why I'm just running.
Absolutely. So, Mani Kandan, he wanted to know any medicines discovered and what are the causes and what are the preventions to prevent. I think you're already talking about all of the different types of, risk factors that should help him understand. Medications, maybe you would want to throw some light on. He wants to know whether medications have been discovered.
So, Mani, the point is again, if someone has cancer, he or she has to take anti-cancer treatment. Like I told you, cancer treatment is not only medicine. It is usually involves that there are three pillars for cancer treatment: is surgery, chemotherapy, and radiotherapy. So these are the three pillars. Based on the stage, based on the site, we prescribe as and when required. Surgery, go for surgery, go for radiation, or take chemotherapy. If we first talk about chemotherapy, it's a very vast topic. Do have a slide. Just give me another 5 minutes. I'm sure you will get answer to this question as well.
So Joy wants to know: does what caused by wooden stick infection also considered as HPV?
Right. HPV is, brother, it's a viral infection. It is usually transmitted.
Okay.
HPV is usually transmitted. The infection with the wood doesn't carry HPV. It's a human papilloma virus. It is human papilloma. It is in the humans. It is not on the wood.
So Siddhesh is putting forth a concern. He says, sir, you talked about early detection of cancer, but I am confused. How come one will know there are cancer cells in body if there are no symptoms in early stages?
So usually we have site-specific symptoms. Again, now I'll tell you again one-liner, which I very commonly say. Any female having breast lump and is 40 or 40 years or more, she should be considered suffering from breast cancer until and unless proven otherwise. पॉइंट इज किसी फीमेल को जो 40 साल या उससे ज्यादा है और उसको ब्रेस्ट में लंप हो जाता है, ब्रेस्ट में गांठ हो जाती है, तो उसको हमें कैंसर की तरह ट्रीट करना है जब तक हम ये प्रूव ना कर लें कि वो कैंसरस नहीं है, राइट? So something similar. I'm not that every chronic cough is cancer, but you should at least get the basic chest X-ray done. If अगर आप ये बात में से gall bladder के लिए बोलो, normally what happens is gall bladder patient normally presents very late because their presentation is late. They will not get to know until unless they are in advanced stages, or the patient undergoes for cholecystectomy. Patient गया उसने अपनी for let's say for stones, for gallstone उसने surgery कराई, पता लग गया जी gallbladder cancer. This is incidental finding. But gallbladder cancer patient usually present late. That is because of the anatomy. That is one area which I always say, a constant headache हो रहा है तो क्या गोली खा ली, let's say eye check करा लिया, but they never visit the neurologist. At least go and see your doctor. He is the one who is going to prescribe the CT scan or MRI if required to diagnose the cancer. अच्छा आप 4-6 महीने तो वहीं बोल दोगे केमिस्ट से दवाई ले लीजिए, हमने आई चेक करा दिया, आई नंबर चेंज हो गया, ठीक हो गया, तो हालत खराब होती है, पेशेंट लैंड अप इन इमरजेंसी जस्ट फॉर द इमरजेंसी न्यूरोसर्जरी. So yes, the vision, the eyes cannot see what the mind doesn't know. The whole context of this presentation in today's talk is that mind should know that this disease is existing and is treatable. Nothing else.
So Sujoy is asking another question, but you've already answered that. I will still read out the question. Asking for a relative 34 years, female, smoking since 14 years, for 20 years, 6 cigarettes a day, drinking 2 bottles every alternate weekend for 18 years since 16. Family history: great grandfather on mother's side had lung cancer, aunt had breast cancer.
So what exactly is the question? I'm sure
There's no
this
question.
is a
I think,
hypothetical situation,
yeah,
and in
you
case
should.
this is for real, just ask that female to stop. I'm just
And
ask her to praise her body and don't
right,
waste her life. That's
true.
all I can say for this female.
Yeah, we all need to respect what we have and
Yes.
not throw it away like this. And also, please, now that you're aware of, some risk factors, please share them with her.
So again, colon cancer comes with change of bowel movement. When I say change of bowel movements, की constipation है, loose motion है, nausea, vomiting, abdominal discomfort, abdominal bloating, weight loss. So all these are site-specific symptoms. Again, breast cancer. Again, I said India is seeing almost 1,80,000 cases every year, and ovarian is next most common. That is around 45,000. Sorry, cervical cancer. I told you there is a vaccine for cervical cancer. So see the numbers now. So the number is almost 1.25 lakhs, right? Sawa lakh females are diagnosed with the cervical cancer every year in India only, and total number is only 6 lakhs. So we are probably sharing one-fourth of the burden of one disease in India. That is the reason we all should get daughters, sisters vaccinated for cervical cancer. And इसका lag period जो मैं बता रहा था from atypical cell to full blown cervical cancer is very long. It's more than a decade. But that doesn't mean कि वो decade ही होगा. वो 2 साल भी हो सकता है, 20 साल भी हो सकता है. But normal, if we calculate the average lag period, it is more than a decade, more than 10 years. So that is the reason India is targeting vaccine for cervical cancer by, I told you, Serum Institute of India, which is getting the vaccine at an affordable cost for everyone.
So who would prescribe this vaccine? Rajesh, I'm asking for you because your question is it Gardasil, which is the
Yes,
vaccine which we had? So the
Gardasil
gynecologist,
Cervarix as on date, which is available, and
right?
Cervarac or Cervavac by Serum Institute, which is in lab, which would be rolled out very in near months out for the in the population. The prescription can be either from the gynecologist or any doctor. It could be medicine specialist or gynecologist. Obviously, oncologist can any day prescribe the vaccine. But normally, females are more comfortable with gynecologists because they are happy to talk about over there. So any doctor can prescribe that. We don't for that we don't need an oncologist per se only.
Okay, thank you. So,
So
Jay, I think Sir has already spoken about the various preventions. This is in response to the earlier question of female smoking for so many years. So, I think preventive measures are already we are discussing. He's talking about the risk factors, and once you avoid the risk factors, live healthy. That's a prevention.
so I was talking about the modifiable and the non-modifiable factors, right? I've been talking about this since very long. So this is for breast, and I could say this is for all the cancers. Age we cannot change, right? We cannot change the gender. We cannot ask a female to become a male so that she doesn't have a breast cancer tomorrow or ovarian cancer for that matter. Family history, if someone has family history, genetics is such that obviously I cannot change that. Right. Now, coming at age, this is now personally for this breast cancer, age at menarche and menopause. So, more the number of reproductive years a female will see in her life, higher are the chances of the breast cancer. Means when a female attains puberty till menopause, this is the reproductive age in which she can actually give birth to the child. This is known as reproductive age. So जिसके मेंसेस फीमेल के जल्दी शुरू हो जाते हैं और लेट बंद होते हैं menarche means when the menses start, that is the when the females attain the puberty, and menopause when they stop, right? So this is the reproductive age group. This is the reproductive age life of any female. And for any given circumstance, it is normally somewhere between 30 to 35 years. But normally it is said that a female attains menarche at 11 to 12 years and menopause at 45. So you will calculate somewhere around 30 to 35 years के आसपास होता है. Let's say a female attains a menopause at 55. So she is at higher chance of of getting breast cancer than any female who was at 45 years. Modifiable obesity, it's a common factor for all the cancers, most of the cancers. Alcohol, again. Yeah. Then hormone replacement and birth control pills. This is per se only for the breast cancer. So what happens is after menopause, there are a lot of hot flushes and flashes, and females go erratic because of the change in the hormonal, there's hormonal imbalance. So they normally take hormone replacement therapy, which per se causes the female predisposed to the ovarian cancer, mostly to the ovarian cancer. Birth control pills, which are the earlier ones, the Mala D, Mala N era I'm talking about, when that was the birth control pills only. So they were predisposingly more because of the hormone that they had. Vis-a-vis now one, they are practically better and more betterly absorbed and considered safer as compared to the previous one. Breastfeeding is a protective measure. Okay, so female nulliparity means a female who hasn't nulliparity is again a risk factor for breast cancer. Nulliparity means a female जिसका कभी बच्चा नहीं हुआ, a female who was never breastfed because there was no kid. So nulliparity itself is a risk factor for a breast cancer, and breastfeeding, on the contrary, is a protective mechanism for a female. A female who is breastfeeding her kid is less likely to develop breast cancer. The chances are less as compared to female who has never fed. तो साइन जैसे मैं टोल्ड यू अगेन साइट स्पेसिफिक ब्रेस्ट में होगा तो लंप हो सकता है, ब्रेस्ट में डिस्चार्ज हो सकता है, निपल डिस्चार्ज हो सकता है, changes in the contour and the so this is what self breast examination is. So please just go online and check how to do a self breast examination. Change in the contour, size of the nipple, and the shape of the nipple, whether there is a discharge or not. Changes in the skin, changes in the skin. Skin means जैसे संतरे का छिलका होता है, जब संतरे का छिलका ड्राई हो जाता है तो जैसे उसका सरफेस बन जाता है, मतलब प्यूडी ऑरेंज इज अ कैरेक्टरिस्टिक टर्म फॉर दिस प्यूडी ऑरेंज, मतलब जो सूखा हुआ संतरे का छिलका होता है वैसी स्किन हो जाती है कभी कभी. दैट इज व्हेन द डर्मल लिम्फेटिक्स गेट इन्वॉल्वड इन ब्रेस्ट कैंसर. तो वो सारे चेंजेस वी यूजुअली लुक एट व्हेन वी आर दीज आर साइंस एंड सिम्टम्स फॉर द ब्रेस्ट कैंसर. Again, let's again skip this. The family history, obesity, again, same prevention and screening tips I've already discussed. So, what are the signs ovarian? See, for any ovarian, endometrial, cervical cancer, normally it is the bleeding, it is the pain in the lower abdomen. Cervical cancer, endometrial cancer can be the post-coital bleeding, means when a female bleeds after having intercourse with her partner. And then unexplained weight loss, pain of abdomen is common for every cancer. The vaginal and the vulval cancer, the vulval cancer per se, usually present with the swelling, outgrowth swelling, and normally there is a history of a lot of itching at the labias, at the private parts by the female. Cervical cancer again, postcoital bleeding, post-menopausal bleeding means let's say a female attained a menopause at 45 and she again started having menses at 70 years of age. That is the alarming sign for us. Why is it happening? So let's investigate. So these are the common signs and symptoms for all the gynecological malignancies. So for prostate cancer, just very quickly, age, family history, genomic changes, diet, red meat predisposes to the red meat per se is positive factor for prostate cancer and is also known to cause the colon cancer. Again, we have stages. So so history, examination, X-ray, CT scan, PET scan, biopsy. Yeah, there is one more myth, ma'am. I'll just take a minute before we close the show. Biopsy, whether to do biopsy or not, biopsy करने से कैंसर बढ़ जाता है. बायोप्सी करेंगे तो कैंसर फैल जाएगा, बायोप्सी करेंगे तो इंसान मर जाएगा. बंधुओं, बिना बायोप्सी के कैंसर डायग्नोज नहीं हो सकता. One single most important test to diagnose cancer is biopsy or FNAC, which is a smaller version of biopsy. जब तक कैंसर सेल्स को आंखों से माइक्रोस्कोप के नीचे नहीं देख लेते, तब तक कैंसर को कैंसर लेबल नहीं कर सकते. We can do n number of tests which are negative, and if the biopsy is positive, patient is suffering from cancer. And all the n number of tests are positive and biopsy is negative, the patient is not suffering from cancer. Please undergo a repeat biopsy because rest of the tests are indicating that person is suffering from cancer. So biopsy से disease नहीं बढ़ती. This is a fact, and the myth is biopsy करने से disease बढ़ती है. So get your facts right. Okay. So again, I told you stages. Stage 0 is when there is no cancer. Stage 1 is localized. 2 is locally advanced. Late locally advanced stage 4 when the disease spreads to other parts of the body. Whenever the disease to any other part of the body, it is usually set stage 4. I'm not talking about lymph nodes over here. Lymph nodes are considered to be regional depending on the site of visit. So basically, we have three types of hematological malignancy which we look at. Leukemia is the blood cancer. Lymphoma is also type of blood cancer in which the lymph nodes, there we have lakhs of lymph nodes in the body from head to toe. Normally, if गला खराब होता है, गर्दन में गांठ आ गई है, that is a lymph node. Lymph node is the structure which gives you immunity, which prepares the army against any infection. So normally, what happens is that whenever we have overgrowth of cells in that particular lymph node, then it is called lymphoma. Myeloma is a disease of bone, in which bone में से calcium टूट के बाहर आना शुरू हो जाता है. Again, it's a different topic. But yes, मोटा मोटा बता रहा हूँ, myeloma is a disease of it's a kind of a blood cancer which usually affects the bones. So risk and symptoms remains almost same. So types of cancer treatment I have talked about: surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy. Now, immunohormonal, targeted stem cell, these all are clubbed under chemotherapy as a broader in the broader prospects. So ways to reduce cancer is: do not smoke, make your home smoke free, enjoy healthy diet, breastfeeding, vaccinate against HPV. Hepatitis B infection is a risk factor for liver cancer. So yes, we all should get vaccinated for hepatitis B, everyone, and do the titers and take the booster as and when required and recommended by your physicians. Avoid too much of sun because causes skin cancer because of the gases and other structures. And physically active, limit alcohol. Cancer screening programs I've already discussed. So this is my Indian Cancer Society screening program. Mammography over the age of 45 years, pap smears for women for cervical cancer, clinical breast and gynecological examination. इससे भी ज़्यादा better है मैम self breast examination and oral examination to rule out the head and neck cancer. So lastly, cancer is contagious. मतलब छुआछूत की बीमारी है, नहीं जी कैंसर छुआछूत की बीमारी नहीं है. It doesn't spread by sneezing, sitting together, eating together, living together. Rather, I always say this: हम कैंसर ठीक कर देते हैं, लेकिन कैंसर पेशेंट का हम डिप्रेशन नहीं ठीक कर पाते because of the social stigma that is attached to the disease. If you have a family history of cancer, you will get cancer too. It increases the chance though, but it is not 100% sure shot. There's no point of getting treated. Cancer causes is a death sentence. No, it is not. Cancer treatment is usually worse than the disease. I don't want to comment on this now. After the session, cell phones, microwave, antiperspirant, hair dye does not cause cancer. If anyone in the family had cancer, does that mean I am risk free? Dear, you were never risk free because you were born on earth.
I think this has been a very, very informative session, Dr. Jain. One last question. I know it's already 4 o'clock. Any major advancements in cancer treatment at a global level? Asks Nikhil Dhami. So I think
yes, ma'am. Obviously, we have come across the leaps of the improvement, right? I mean, we are oceans apart, poles apart in the treatment. आज से 15 साल पहले जो कैंसर ट्रीटमेंट होता था और आज जो होता है, then we are poles apart. So earlier it was only chemotherapy. Now we have immunotherapy, we have targeted therapy.
And those are all available with you, right?
Yes, we have improved. We have come a long way. We have come a long way.
Excellent. Last question by Siddesh. Does hypothyroidism have any increased risk of throat cancer? It's already 4 o'clock, sir. So
no, that's okay. No, dear, thyroid cancer. I mean, hypothyroidism is not a risk factor for any sort of cancer. It is just that the thyroid gland is not functioning up to the mark, and definitely is not a risk factor for throat cancer.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunny. This has been a very, very informative session. I'm sure for everyone, and personally for me as well, who's been part of healthcare for such a long time. We have money. Sorry, I would request you to send the question directly to me on Bell's palsy, and we'll have the response right back to you. So it's 4:01, and we will let all of you go now. Thank you so much, Dr. Jain.
Thank
I
you, ma'am.
think
Thank you so much.
really, really impressive. We've been very, very